You know that moment when you're framing the cleanest shot of the day and your phone jumps in with a call from your mum and a text and an update all at once? Well, now all those problems are going to go away because of this.
Like an animal. Like an animal. Go on, like an animal.
This is Potensic's new PTD-1 controller for the Atom 2, so you can ditch the phone, keep your headspace, and actually fly without interruptions. And there's one feature that will change how you teach, review, and work with clients, but I'll get to that later in the video. But once you see it, you'll get why I'm so excited about this. And if you're new here, my name is Brett. I'm a professional photographer, and I help beginners get better photos and video without the need for expensive gear. So my first impressions on this is really good. The screen is a 5.5-inch 1080p 60 Hz panel at roughly 700 nits. So that just means when I'm outdoors, I'm not doing the hand visor thing where I'm trying to see what I'm doing. And the important controls live where your fingers already are on the controller, so it's very comfortable and very natural. You have dedicated photo and video buttons, return to home, customizable C1 and C2 buttons, and also 2 dials. One of the dials is for gimbal pitch and one is for digital zoom. And the Potensic Eve app is very easy to use as well. You can change white balance, shutter speed, or EV without scuba diving through millions of menus. So if you're worried about link quality, well, it uses PixSync 4, which sends a 1080p feedback to the controller, and it's been rock solid within legal ranges, of course, as long as you keep the flat faces of the antennas aimed at the drone, which is like this. You see that like that? It is a tiny thing, but it makes a huge difference. If you already have an Atom 2 drone already, which I did as well, because I was using the old controller, this is the old controller, which I love this controller. If you have that controller, you can easily pair this new controller to the drone you already have. It's much easier than you think. All you have to do is to go into settings, then click calibration, and then repair the drone and follow the on-screen instructions. It's pretty simple. Now you're probably wondering about battery life on this controller. Well, it lands around about 3 hours. You get about 3 hours use out of this controller on one charge. You use USB-C to fast charge it as well, and you roughly get 90% in about an hour and 20 of charging. Internal storage on this controller is 32 gigabytes as well, which is very, very helpful. Just having that on board. But if you're planning to record for a long period of time, say for the full 3 hours of the battery life of this thing, I would actually set my recording to go to the SD card and not to the 32 gig, just in case you run out of storage space. Although 32 gig is quite a bit. Now the ergonomics are actually great on this controller. The previous controller, which I've always said is my favorite controller from any drone that I've ever used, which is the previous controller here. That particular controller has a more rubberized grip, which I really loved. The grip on this one is a little bit less rubbery, but it's still quite grippy and still is not too slippery. And as far as size go, well, the size of these controllers are almost exactly the same. So you can take this controller out of your camera bag and put this controller in your camera bag, and it fits perfectly. And a quick note for Atom 2 owners, make sure that you updated your drone firmware and your controller firmware, which is the app as well. Make sure that's all up to date before you actually connect any of this stuff. Basically, update the controller first, then update the drone, and you should be good to go. And the reason to bother is because Potensic has new updates that will work beautifully with this controller. You can now take photos while recording. As you can see here, I'm filming traffic to take this shot, and there is no stutter in the video at all. You can now change saturation and definition, which is sharpening. And the reason you want to do that is because the sharpening is a little bit overdone in these drones, these beginner drones when you first get them. So you want to be able to bring it down a little bit to make it look less like a phone commercial. And that will make it look a little bit more cinematic. Another of the updates I really like is the spot metering. You can now just tap on the screen to set your exposure so you're not stuck with blown out skies or black shadows. You can also tap the little light icon next to it, and it becomes a slider, so you can park it exactly where you want, and you can just tap it again to lock it so that the exposure is locked at that setting. And of course, if you want to reset, just tap it again. Another of the features that comes in the update is Sphere Panorama. Basically, the Atom 2 captures a bunch of images and stitches a finished tiny planet photo, which is really awesome. And of course, in this update, Potensic has added P-Log, which is their version of log footage, so you have more of a range when you're editing to save those highlights and shadows when you're color grading. And seriously, All this stuff on a drone at this price is beyond amazing as far as I'm concerned. And of course, if you want a little flair, the update comes with Cineroll. It lets you push forward while the image rotates slightly. And it is a digital effect. It doesn't actually rotate the gimbal. But when you use it sparingly, of course, because if you use it too much, it just looks like too much. But when you're using it, if you're flying through trees or through architecture, it looks like you spent way more money than you did on a drone. But my favorite feature of this controller is the ability to screen record, and it's easy to do. All you have to do is swipe down twice from the top, and that'll open the full quick panel. And you tap the icon, screen record, and the controller records exactly what's on its own screen. And that's it. For teaching beginners, I can show precisely what settings I used and exactly what I pressed. For reviewing flights, I can find the moment I changed white balance or where my gimbal move fell apart. On a job, I can hand a client the approved framing and the path we flew with no guessing. And all you have to do is tap the icon again to stop recording. And then your video is sitting on the controller in the local album, ready to play back or offload. It's simple, reliable, and honestly the reason I keep reaching for this controller now. Okay, let's talk about where this controller falls short a little bit in my opinion. And believe me, it isn't much. My personal opinion is the rubber grips on the back would have been better if they used the previous rubber grips. I'm sure there's a reason why they changed it, but those previous grips I thought were fantastic, and they're a little bit more grippy, a little bit less slippery. And another feature I would really love to see on this controller is the option to have a histogram on the screen, so you have an easy job of getting perfect exposure so you don't lose details in the highlights and the shadows. But I might just be nitpicking at this point. The bottom line is, if you're done with phone interruptions and cable gymnastics, this controller is a real upgrade. It's got a daylight readable screen you can trust, although it is highly reflective, so in the shadows, I noticed some things behind me were reflected on the screen. In the sun, it's very bright and easy enough to see though. It really has what I call grown-up controls. They've spent a lot of time making sure the buttons, controls, switches, and features are all at your fingertips and easy to find without being too complicated. This controller also gives you a strong sync between the drone and yourself, get up to 10 kilometers, which is fantastic. You also get a long-lasting battery, which is very helpful. You get expandable storage, which is hugely needed. And you get that screen recording feature that ties together training, review, and client approvals. And when you layer in the Atom 2's new tools and features, you get a beginnerly Ted C. McGinley.
Never, not in a million years, absolutely not.
And when you layer in the Atom 2's new features and tools, you get a beginner-friendly setup with room to grow as well. If this drone and the controller are something you want to explore further, I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out for specs and pricing. And if you want a more detailed video on the Cineroll, Sphere Panorama, and other updates, check out this video right here. And if you tried P-Log this week, tell me how you went because I'm curious to see what you think. Thanks for watching.